into the subject of the day. Let's talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard once again. In particular, we're going to be talking about romance and relationships. Pretty big part, a core element of a Bioware game, really RPGs in general. After Baldur's Gate 3, this is one of the many different parts I was interested with how they're going to tackle it in Dragon Age the Veilguard. I think it's safe to say that Bioware really started the whole trend with relationships in video games with Mass Effect and what you could do there and who you could do. But I think Baldur's Gate 3 really showed what it's capable of. It can go a little bit further than that. It can go really quite adult. You know, you're playing, the video game is made for adults. Dragon Age Veilguard is certainly no Baldur's Gate 3, and I don't think it's made for adults. But enough of my ramblings. Let's get into the article itself. The article is, again, from Wesley LeBlanc. Thank you very much, Wesley, from Game Informer. We're going to jump straight in. So let's go. Every companion in the game has a relationship level related to Rook and the choices you make. And not even specifically about the companion, but in the world in general. So that's pretty self-explanatory. The decisions you make around the world is going to affect how your companions see you. So obviously, what you say to companions, how you help or don't help them, and more all play into it. Every time you rank up a companion's relationship level, you unlock a skill point to spend specifically on that companion. So I like that. That's a really good way of encouraging people to build those relationships and not ignore the mechanic, because it's going to make your companion stronger. I think that's how it should be. Persona 5, I think, did that really, really well. I believe. I love Persona 5. I think they did it great, where you would gain little buffs and benefits each time you leveled up your confident level. I think it was every 2 levels you gain something new. I'm really happy to see that Bioware is implementing a system that's tied into the relationship level, not just the relationships for the sake of romancing characters. Though companion skill trees pale in comparison to Rook's expansive tree, which features passive abilities, combat abilities, and more, as well as paths to 3 unique class specializations, there's still some customization here. Okay, that's exciting. Each companion has access to 5 abilities, but you can only take 3 into combat. So basically, what's going to happen is you're going to have to make decisions on how you want your character to play in that particular mission. Because Dragon Age the Veilguard, I still hate that name. Just drop the Dragon Age Veilguard. Anyway, the Veilguard, it's mission-based. So it's on open world. So you'll select the mission. Maybe you'll get to choose your allies, and then you'll get to customize what your allies do. So is it going to have this ability? And then maybe the mission is stealth. So you want to maybe take more stealth-orientated abilities. That's how I see that playing out. The really interesting part of the article, which really gets into sort of how they're setting up the romance, is as follows. Bella Lutaria, for example, has her own story arc that runs parallel to and informs the story path you're on. Rhodes tells me while I watch game director Corinne Bush play through a linear, story-driven mission in Alathian Forest where Rook is searching for Valaria. Okay, so again, side quest where our companion has her own thing going on that's sort of, as I say, parallel to ours. However, fret not, Bioware fans, romance is a key part of relationships in the game. Bush says noting some of the romances will get quite spicy. Feels a little like PR's talk. Again, Baldur's Gate 3 has changed a lot for RPGs in the industry. A lot of people now know what can be done, what studios can be capable of without charging an arm and a leg. Wow, and they can do it all honestly and earnestly with players in mind. So I think whether or not it turns out to be true, I do think that they have to say this. They have to drum it up. They have to invoke a little bit of that player expectation post Baldur's Gate. The article continues. She likens romantic and platonic relationships, that's Corinne, to another way to level up your companions. Okay, it's not just experience and skill points that determines Rook's standing with companions, but diegetic conversations too. Again, this is where we're getting into that PR talk. Of course, your conversations are going to have an effect on the relationship level of your companion. They even mentioned it earlier, where your choices will affect it. And this is just RPGs. It's not like you would go into a RPG, a Bioware game, and think that your decisions when you're talking to a companion and you have those dialogue options aren't going to affect them. So again, maybe they're trying to explain it to people who have never jumped into an RPG before or a Bioware game in general, but I feel like it's a little bit of revisionist history there. Bioware has already revealed that every companion in Veilguard is pansexual, notably different from the community dub player-sexual approach in some games, which sees NPCs adjust romantic and sexual interests based on the player rather than their own sense of sexuality. Very good, I guess. As pansexual companions, they are attracted to people of any gender or regardless of gender. That's a critical distinction because in Veilguard, your companions aren't just going to vie for your affection. They might take attraction to other companions in the titular Veilguard. That's interesting. That's actually genuinely quite interesting. So let's finish off this bit of the article and then I'll dive into what I have to say. Giving one companion the cold shoulder might nudge them into the warm shoulder of someone else on the team, Bosch says. Companions form romances with each other, although I'm unable to confirm if it means locking Rock out of forming a romance with them. So, that is interesting. You have companion A, Barrack, for example. You say something he doesn't like, he then goes and starts a relationship with character B. It's kind of cool. We'll see how well it's fleshed out. And as the article says, as Wesley says, whether or not that will lock the player character out of that relationship. I kind of hope it does. I hope it does. It's kind of like, again, Persona 5 as an example. Different genre, very, very different genre. But when you start a romance with one of the characters, the confidence there, if you flirt with another confidant, you can have that original, your romantic partner, break up with you. Will that be something similar here where and then again, they don't even mention that. Like what happens if I romance Varric and I decide to flirt with character B? Will Varric break up? Will it be like a Baldur's Gate 3 thing where they will get very antsy, maybe almost threaten to leave? I don't know. They don't go into that much information here. But it is interesting. I mean, the romantic side of things, the NPC romance aspect of the game I was interested in. They haven't answered a lot of questions, but they've raised a few. How this whole mechanic of going into other companions and starting relationships outside of the player character, how that's going to play out, I'm interested in. As with all the other news dumps that's come from the Veilguard, I'm getting more and more interested in it. I started off by being very skeptical, very disillusioned with the whole franchise, but the more I see, the more I'm like, okay, there's definitely a lot of PR talk going on. They're definitely catering towards people who don't usually play this type of game. Dare I say casuals. But this is quite interesting nonetheless. But anyway, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that YouTube jargon. See you later. Dun 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 do 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 dum 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 do 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 dum 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 do 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 dum 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 dum.